Hola familia, it's your favorite Puerto Rican Brooklyn Philly, and I'm back outside in this beautiful park. The sun is hitting my cheek a little bit much on this side, so I'm gonna tilt a little bit over here, trying to make do. So I pre-shuffled already and pulled some cards, and I needed to literally I went into the Google dictionary to just to clarify this card, vanity, because there was something about vanity, and I just began to think of a lot of the words like selfish or um words that tend to initially, in the inception, once we hear them, carry a negative connotation, like automatically, right? So when you hear someone is selfish, you negatively, right? You automatically think that this person is wrong for that, right? But when we kind of look at the roots of the words, or even like the definitions, it had me go back to the Latin, then the French, and then to the Old English, where it then became more about vain, and because it was a religious impact on it, and it even talked about Paul Bunyan's book, that kind of solidified the term Vanity Fair, which meant like a marketplace where all kind of frivolousness, you know what I'm saying? So it had all of that influence to kind of make it so negative. But when I think of like the word selfish now, I see it in a different perspective. I understand that it can be defining like someone who really don't give a F about nobody but themselves. But there is a positive aspect to the word selfish, because we are supposed to be selfish in certain ways, right? Self-esteem, right? Self-love, self-care, which, I mean, interestingly enough, seems to be frowned upon, particularly with women and women of color. That's been my experience. I can't speak for nobody else, right? But so I don't know. I went down that rabbit hole, right? Because it was something that didn't sit right with me when it first came out. It's like, well, vanity, right? What's up with that? And then I'm not gonna lie, it struck a little chord in me, because lately I've been feeling myself, right? Which is very different. Okay, Spirit, now you got me telling you my business, which is very different for me, right? I've been used to, for the majority of my life, to kind of play down on my gifts, my talents, my beauty, and anything really about me, because, unfortunately, due to a lot of different variables, I was pretty much in a community and a family that has struggled and had experienced a lot of trauma, and as a result, things like showcasing your talents and your gifts made you be, I'm hearing like Will and Carlton, you were either uppity, bougie, you thought you was better than people, you was doing too much, you know what I mean, and all those kind of things. So it was frowned upon, it was rejected for the most part in the environment that I grew up. So I learned to, kind of like just to go along to get along, and to kind of survive and exist, to play down on a lot of and dim a lot of my light. And I've been doing a lot of work and healing a lot of stuff, and doing a lot of just learning to love on myself. And as a result, I'm shining brighter. I'm standing out. So I'm not going to lie, when I saw the word vanity, it was like, oh my God, am I doing it too much, God? Am I going overboard? You know what I mean? Like the psyche and my nervous system, it got triggered, right? I got triggered. And the wounds of, there go my throat, went into lock up, but the wounds of abandonment and rejection, right, kind of got triggered really quickly. Sit down. My dog had just heard a car go like backfire, the muffler, and he gets scared about things like that. So, see, there's an anxiety association with that. So I really think that this is, I just heard a trick of the devil. I mean, to keep it more, less woo-woo and more practical. I believe it, Spirit is saying, is a trick of the mind, right? Of the, I was going to say the senses, but it's not. But it's a normal reaction, a normal trigger, I'm hearing, to I don't know why I'm hearing counterintuitive, right? Okay, thank you, Spirit. So it's like when initially when I began on my weight loss journey, you gave me that idea and now it went away. What I was going to say is once I began to lose the weight, then it felt uncomfortable to have all of the weight loss because a lot of the attraction and attention I was getting, and it wasn't always positive, right? People were even like spreading rumors and saying that, you know, I was doing things or whatever. So it's, yeah, and now I'm hearing irritation, the pearl, you know, when it's in the oyster, you know, or now I'm seeing the butterfly in the cocoon when it has to liquidate itself. There's something about understanding that uncomfortability. Very interesting. Now the picture itself, right, is of like this godly figure that is, yeah, seems to be frowning upon these people who are partying or drinking. They all seem to look well to do, right? So there's something about that, because then when I asked to clarify it, the Nine of Pentacles came out, which was a person who is independent, self-assured. I heard self-loved, right? Well established. And now I'm thinking of, I was watching the new Love is Blind, and one of the women in the beginning takes, when they're talking to Lachey and his wife, or I think the wife is, I don't know. She said, one of my issues is that because I've become such a successful woman and I have established my own company and I have my own money and I drive a nice car, is intimidating to people. So see, there's something about that. And for me, it's breaking out of that, right? It's like, there you go. It wasn't the senses, the psyche. It's an old familiar pattern of thinking regarding self, my own beauty, I'm not trying to make it about me, but one's own sense of beauty, one's own sense of self. And even, you know, now I'm hearing it's a paradox, right? Because you want to be this, but then you're afraid that, you know, God or something. Yeah, that's why God had me. God got it. That's why Divinity had me go look it up in the Google, because they wanted to show me that there was a lot of biblical and patriarchal influence that kind of turned that word even more on its head into a negative connotation as it translated into the Old English, right? And into our modern English. So there's something, thank you, Spirit, about the shifting in that. And now I'm hearing, because yesterday or the day before I did a reading, and it was, I got the imagery of when you're trying to dial, tune, refine a station, when you're going between, if you're on like the old AM FM radios, where you're going from the previous station to another station, but it kind of teeter-totters between an old one and a new one, and is not kind of bringing in the frequency in the one that you want, and you're trying to fine-tune it. They also gave me like a black and white old TV. You remember back in the day when we had to play with the contrast and color and all of that. So there's this sense of, right, and it's eclipse season, and I just heard Venus is coming into the South Node, and it's all about release and healing and renewal and new cycles and letting go. So it, you know, it's that period of, I'm not where I used to be, I'm not quite where I want to be, but I'm in that in-between stage, and I'm trying to refine it and figure it out. Okay, Spirit, thank you. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me in my head. I hope I'm doing a good job in explaining it. The next card that came out was Faith. Interesting. We were talking about religion and the impact of religion. And in here, I found that interesting, because these two figures of color, and they're giving offerings, and here with this offering. But then this middle figure seems to be like putting a stop to it again. So maybe, and I've never seen these cards, like this is the first time. So maybe there is something about Spirit is telling us something about the influence of possibly religion, or or patriarchy, male authority figures, right? Nothing against the masculine, but I'm just saying what is coming out, right? And the impact on, I hear it again, the psyche and the beliefs that we establish and develop as a result. I heard surrounding money, surrounding wealth, surrounding health, surrounding beauty, right? Come here. Sorry, guys. I gotta let him. Come here. This way. Up. Sit down. Yeah. And look. And then when I asked to clarify that, faith, judgment came out, right? And this is the judgment card, right? Calling judgment on, and look, whatever kept you dead, kept you gray, kept you monotonous, kept you confirmation, dimming yourself. Now I'm hearing the speech that we attribute to Nelson Mandela because he utilized it in his inaugural address. I think I'm saying that correctly. I think that's where we heard him say it. My nose is itching, but it was really by Marianne Wilkinson, where she talks about, not to dim down, you're not afraid of failing, you're afraid of succeeding. She doesn't say it like that. It's so beautiful, her that little excerpt. I'm not doing it any justice, and I only have this phone. I can't look it up, but look it up, Marianne Wilkinson, and then you'll find it faster if you type in Nelson Mandela and use those phrases about not necessarily being afraid of failure, but being afraid of success, because you recognize how beautiful, how that we're all, I'm hearing, have inalienable rights. The fact that we just breathe, right? That we're born, that we existed, that we came to be from millions of sperm cells and eggs that didn't, right? That in and of itself shows your beauty, your importance, your uniqueness, your right to be, your that you deserve all good things, right? So there's this, and then look, God, you're so good. Impatience came out, right? And now I'm hearing the letter from a Birmingham jail from Dr. Martin Luther King, what we call him right now. That wasn't his original name when he was born. I don't know why I needed to make that statement, but maybe that's for a reason. But as we've known him now to be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in his letter from a Birmingham jail, he was critiquing and checking the ish out of the religious leaders of that time. The Baptist church, because the Baptist church was kind of split, and there was the denomination of the Baptist church that was very much against and wanted to slow down and wasn't like on board or whatever. And then a lot of the Jewish leaders of the time, and that he was seeking their help and in their unity to move civil rights, his civil rights movement forward. And a lot of them, rightly so, were scared and felt he was doing too much, right? Yeah, there you go. See how Spirit's tying it back up? You're doing too much. You know what I mean? You need to relax. You need to slow down, right? One little thing at a time. And yeah, now I'm hearing the time is now. The time is always now, right? Now I'm seeing the great debate is with Denzel Washington and that beautiful young lady. Well, she's not young like that anymore, but when she was debating and she used that, and she's up on the podium, she says the time, that for justice and everything, the times change. It is now. It's always now, right? And they were telling him, you're being impatient. Slow down, right? And he was like, no. We've been patient long enough. injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, and it needs to stop. The buffoonery needs to stop, right? And then look what comes out to clarify: the Hierophant, the religious systems, the patriarchal system, whatever system that seeks to suppress, oppress you or any fucking body, any living being, you know, and try in any way to attempt to take away their inalienable rights, right? The right to live, to breathe, to exist, and not just exist as a zombie or as a fucking cog in the wheel, but in their authentic, true self. You know, it's funny how we always tell people, we want you to be real. We don't want fake people. We want you to be authentic. Bullshit. You want that motherfucker to be fake. Because their realness intimidates you. Their realness, you can't handle, right? You are okay with people lining up and everybody doing the same fucking thing. You know, even friend groups. I mean, you know, if you don't watch the Eagles like I do, or if you don't vote like I do, or whatever, man, that's bullshit, right? I should be able to believe what, you know, follow whatever sports team, and I shouldn't be, oh, you a hypocrite, or you a fair weather if, you know, I fuck with the Eagles, but I also fuck with the New York Giants. Like, what's the problem? You know, it's like we want things to just be either black and white, or, you know, this or that, you know, when there's so much more gray in between. Like, not even gray, it's color, baby. There's so much fucking color, you know. This is what that angel came with, the bread wings of passion, saying, fuck that dead, gray, monotonous shit. You don't got the feeling that shit leaves you in graves. It leaves you dead. It kills your inner spirit, right? Okay. Then they want to tell you a fucking fake, you a facade, right? So, again, being vulnerable, I don't know why Spirit wants me to share this, but I will. One of the things is I've gone through a very, I'm hearing, extensive and arduous journey in seeking divinity, right? And it started from, as a child, being introduced to what we in Puerto Rico would call Santeria, by my mother, to then Catholicism by my aunt's mother-in-law at the time, with her daughters, my cousins, to then fully saying, you know, that whole Catholicism and religion was BS and I want no part of it, to then saying, I know there's a higher power greater than myself, I just don't know, you know, how I could define it, to then going back to Santeria, with the hit of Lukumi and Yoruba religion, and Palo, to then going back to the church because I was told, you know, I was going to go to hell for ancestral veneration. And then going back to the church, experiencing Christianity, Baptist Pentecostal style, I say Baptist style, to then embracing Judaism, and seeing that for in its roots, and no, I didn't convert, but you know, I was curious and I wanted to know, and I effed with it. I thought there was some aspects of it that I found very valuable and informative to me at the time. To then going to seminary and traveling to Africa and then Egypt, and then being introduced to Islam, to then coming back full circle to ancestral veneration and spiritualism, and now understanding with a hint of Buddhism, but now understanding that there's this one, right? So many people who have known me, that's a lot, right? Throughout my life, from child, you know, or even the ones who from even teenager to now have seen me go through that. A lot of them have been very upset, very confused, because in their minds, I'm hearing the dogma. They've been very rigid in saying, you know, you don't do that. If you're Christian, you're Christian. If you're Muslim, you're Muslim. If you're Buddhist, you're Buddhist. If you're Santero, you're Santero. You know, and they can't wrap their mind around that the thing we call divinity, this thing we call a power greater than ourselves, is so much bigger and greater than the little boxes that we try to put it, her, him, whatever in. That's my belief. You ain't gotta believe that. But some people hate me for that. Some people are confused. Some people think I got a whole facade going on or whatever. And what came out on top of that is one, my card, the Leo, right? But there's this strength, right? And that it took strength, right, to come up against these systems, call judgment on it, right, and stand in my beautiful independence without feeling shamed and thinking that I'm being vain or wrong for it, right? Even down now to tarot, right? I mean, even some of my neighbors right now being newsy as fuck, trying to listen to what I'm saying to see, they see the tarot cards or whatever, or they see and it's some big shit to them, but they don't understand. Again, I'm not angry at them, especially for the ones who don't. You know what I mean? Ignorance is bliss. When I didn't know, right? And I'm sure I talked shit when I didn't know or I didn't understand. So it's not about that, but it's the reality that, we confront, many of us, on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be that deep, like my spiritual journey. But again, I said, even when it was about my self-esteem or my beauty, I remember as a little girl, I was very girly, very princessy. So, when I would laugh, I would cover my mouth real dainty. And I remember being clowned for that. I remember being bullied for, trying to be girly, or then being told I was too much, or when I tried to anyway, I don't want to make it more. So someone out here is experiencing that, or has experienced that, and understands that, right? And what I believe Spirit is saying, don't dim your fucking light anymore. Stand in your authenticity. Stand in your authority. Understand that you have every right to exist on this effing planet. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here. And we need you. We need your originality. We need your unicorn uniqueness to help us, right? I don't want to be part of zombie land. You know what I mean? I don't want to be just another cog in the wheel, and it takes a different kind of faith, right? A different kind of faith, I just heard. Yeah, because, like, for example, the world will tell you, let's just use industrialization and how, we've come into these jobs with states, with pensions and all that. So, back then you were told, you go into this job, you stay there 30 years, you collect your pension, your retirement, and then you live. And now you have people becoming millionaires at the age of 20, not staying in companies for 30 years and stuff. But then if you were already like a part of that crowd and you're trying to remove yourself, oh my God, all hell goes loose. Your mom is telling you crazy, the family is telling you crazy, everybody, saying what you doing, you know what I mean? Because people expect you to stay with I heard modus operandi. No. Even if the modus operandi is killing you. Like, what's up with that? Like, I'm dying slowly. I'm even... I've used that analogy of a person just standing in the middle of a street screaming to the top of their lungs and nothing is coming out. No one is hearing them. No one is stopping to even ask them, what's going on, Yeah, they're, And that's a no-no, If whatever place or space or community, job, family environment, whatever that I'm in does not not only add value, but appreciate and embrace and wants my authenticity, then I don't need to be there. You don't need to be there. If wherever you are at, it feels so toxic to the point where you're depressed, you're not happy, and it's evident, you know what I mean? A lot of the times we see it on people's faces, their eyes, their bodies, it shows, you can't hide it, but for so long, right? It's like trying to hold a ball underwater, right? I don't know if it's the gravity, it's something, that says, no, that pressure, it wants to push it back up. Then I pulled the Ten of Cups, which is, again, they say it has to be this family with the. I don't know, but what's your Ten of Cups? Shouldn't you decide what your Ten of Cups is? If this is the Ten of Cups for you, then go for it, right? So maybe, help me, Spirit, because it fell on top of the independence and this whole vanity card that we was talking about, right? Where I'm going from, I'm shining and I'm fully independent, right? And self-sufficient. And now, thank you, Spirit, now I'm hearing, once you're able to feel that within yourself and to establish that, and it's not just about money, right? It's about what helps you feel, safe and secure, right? Because when you're in this state of, you have a sense of security, a sense of stability, a sense of safety, that you've established that you're okay, that, I'm hearing you're safe. So if I've established that now, because I've established that within myself, and look, she got her little bird, she's talking to her ancestors, to her in divinity, to whoever, right? She's established to her higher self, whatever you want to call it, established that within, then so without, now, this environment could be so much healthier in terms of the Ten of Cups and what it means to you. Then the next card came out, the Lovers, right? And then the Lovers is even about a choice, right? And a choice, it can also be between two individuals, but a lot of readers read the Lovers as a choice of self, right? Again, my masculine and my feminine finally uniting as one, right? Understanding that we are one. We are one. Heartache to heartache, we stand. Love is a battlefield. But I don't know, right? The judgment was called, right? And you chose you, I heard, right? Yeah, so in this sense, it could be for both, right? It can also mean, not only does it bring in this family card for you and whatever that familial or that Ten of Cups can look like for you, or how you imagine it for yourself, but also individually, one-on-one, whether it's within yourself or actually with another individual, right? Again, because you've gone against that grain, that thing that says they decide, they outline, what all of this should look like for you, no, you decide. Right now I'm hearing Julia Roberts, I choose, I say who, I say when, you know what I mean? And that scene in Pretty Woman when she was telling him, when that guy came on, Skippy tried to, pushed up on her, you know what I mean? And she was telling Richard Gere, you think you could just pass me on to your rich buddies? That's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? I decide, even though to you I might be nothing but a prostitute, but even my body that I'm prostituting is my decision to decide who the fuck I want to give it to, right? There's something about an empowerment and emboldenment about that. And then the Five of Swords came out. Now the Five of Swords is usually about right? Typically, I'm looking at in my head is one individual, two individuals are walking away, their swords are on the ground, and then one individual is looking back at them with the sword. Yeah, you did this shit, right? And you and it was hard, right? Because it caused you to have to walk away from some people, to fight some people that you didn't want to, and maybe even defeat them, right? That you didn't want to. And again, it's not physical fighting, or a lot of it with the swords is mental, right? It's about communication too, so maybe verbally you had to, and even physically or literally, right? Because they're walking away. And it's something about, those things being defeated, understanding, now I'm hearing from Labyrinth, you have no power over me, when she's telling the Goblin King, at the end, when she remembers, hold up, you have no power over me. And that's what I'm hearing. You finally understand that the systems, whether it's hierarchy, I heard patriotism, patriarchy, religions, whatever, you know what I mean? They have no power over you. And then it's beautiful because I see this moth, and then there seems to be like these fairies. And then I just heard Janet, like a moth to a flame, burnt by the fire. That's the way, that's the way, that's the way love goes, right? Yeah, I just heard congratulations, right? You did this, right? And then at the bottom of the deck, I like to look at the bottom of the deck energy, is this Knight of Wands. So maybe, as a result of all this, or you, because I also see the bottom of it as the precursor of everything. You took on this Knight of Wands energy. You said, no, this is my life, this is my creativity, and I'm charging forward in spite of whatever the world or these systems or my family or my lover or my foes or my community or whatever environment I'm in says to the contrary, right? Look at the right after I picked up the Queen of Wands. Yeah, baby. She said I'm the queen. And oh my God, on my screen just now, as I just pulled up this Queen of Wands, Queen Afua, AFUA, on Instagram. I guess she just posted a message and went live. And she is very much known for being very outspoken and very much about self-love and self-care and health and wealth, particularly for the Black woman and women of color. So yeah, right? So you started off this, right, charging forward, and you landed here, baby boy, baby girl, whoever you are, right? Understanding that you're this Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Wands is bad as shut your mouth. You know what I'm saying? She's confident, she's creative, she's self empowered and motivated. Look how she's sitting on this throne. And oh my God, I just saw it. Look at the flower, the sunflowers. Again, very much Oshun energy. Oh, Oshun Ashe. She's been showing up and showing out in my life so boldly, I'm hearing, right? Saying embrace your femininity, embrace your sensuality, embrace your uniqueness, embrace your authenticity, and let it shine. Blind them motherfuckers if that's their problem. That's their problem. My cheek was burning. Put on sunblock. Get sunglasses if you can't stand it. That's their problem to do that, not yours. You shine. You don't stop your shine for nothing or no one. I say, right? And then at the bottom of the deck of the little clarifier deck, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I used to clarify, was death, right? Which means transformation. You have transformed, right? You've transformed your mind. And when you transform your belief systems, those old belief systems crumble. Now I'm hearing Paul, the tearing down of strongholds. Is that Corinthians? I don't know. I forget. Ephesians, Hebrews, I don't know, but the tearing down of the strongholds, right? The strongholds of the mind, right? When you make that shift in your mind, then the behavior and then the outcome has to shift, right? And I just heard it again. Whole new world. And it is literally, right? And it's not, again, emphasis on, my world hasn't changed. I'm still in this little community, trying to find solace in this little green patch of land that we have over here, park. Very much concrete behind me, right? This ain't paradise in terms of, Caribbean island or anything like that, which I would love. But you can't tell my spirit that I'm not there, right? You can't tell my spirit that although I'm not physically on a Caribbean island and then that's not my environment, but my perspective has changed, that even this has become an oasis, right? There's something about the changing of the mind, right? And I just heard changing of the guards too. Interesting. And to close, I love these doors, affirmation cards, spirit, I like them in threes. And give us 3 affirmation cards to close this beautiful, 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 beautiful message. A note on love. I'm telling you, and I just heard everything else fails and falls away, but what remains and will always remains in love, right? And it says, seek different seasons and enter into the unknown. When love is the focus, foundation, and goal, blessed is the body, mind, and soul. Amen. That's a beautiful way. And look at this beautiful door. I mean, that is gorgeous. I like it. I wouldn't mind going through those doors, right? And yeah, I would dare say that love, right, is what got me through and gets me through. Even when I didn't know how to love myself, this thing I call divinity, which I do believe is love, loved me enough until I loved myself again. Right? Yeah, that's beautiful. Walkabout is the next card that came, and it says, you discover your path in sacred walkabout. The trees are your people. The earth is your tribe. In indigenous lessons, you find the will to survive. Amen. Amen. And I say to that, that is so beautiful, right? And then look at the doorway that they displayed for that. Right? And there is so much truth, because again, this park is an oasis. What I've done in the last 4 months has really been traveling trails around, I live in Philadelphia, the city that I live, and I've been looking, and I've purposely searched out trails, and it has been me and Spirit and my dog really just getting in tune, yes, with the trees and nature. Yeah, no, there is something so powerful. It do take you back to your origins of self. It does allow that. Oh, that flew out, that grounding. That flew out. Ah. And so apropos, I heard, to finish it off, look what it says: forgive and forget, right? Because if we're entering into this whole new world, if we're letting go of these strongholds, if we're letting go of these belief systems and these old things, it's time to forget them and to forgive too, right? And not only to forgive those systems and those communities, those family members, whoever, because again, there was something that Spirit wanted me to point out earlier, that a lot of them don't even know. They're caught up in the cog themselves, right? And my son and I were talking about this, interestingly enough, just yesterday, where we've noticed that, whether it's I noticed it within my own mother or he's noticed it with me, that sometimes when we have our fears, we'll project them onto our children when they're trying to do something different or whatever. We'll get scared and try to, but that to acknowledge that it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with, our fear, right? So that to forgive, right? To understand. And it says, a ritual cleansing of pain and lies, arise and awaken, see a new sunrise. Yes. Right? Yeah, cleanse it all the way. The water. That's that Moen commercial. I think that's that water fan. I get a feeling that it means to me. Sensation, ovation, offense to be the water. Yeah, and literally, there is cleansing in water. So whether you can make it to a body of water, I mean, I know where I'm at now is getting cold. Beaches around here, and closest beach here in Jersey, it's not going to be, unless you like those cold plunges, but a shower, a bath, right? And as that water is running over you, speak it aloud. As this water runs over me and cleanses my outer body, it also is cleansing my inner soul, and I'm allowing forgiveness and forgetting to go down. And as it goes down the drain. It's done, Ja. It's done, Ja. I just heard no mas, right? And yeah, beloved, that is it. 38 minutes, but that's what it took. Que sera, sera. I hope this helped someone. I hope you resonated with it. And if you did, I want to share in the comments. I'm open to that. If you liked it, hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? And until next time, beloved, stay safe. Have a beautiful one on purpose. And amen, and ashe. Mwah.